The last time I saw my mother, she was sitting in the same chair she always sat in, staring at the TV screen. But when I tried to speak to her, she didn't react. She hadn't spoken in weeks. It wasn't like the silence of someone who had just lost interest in talking. It was more like she never existed in the first place. It's hard to explain, but if you've ever tried to remember someone you've lost and couldn't picture them, their face fading away like a blurry dream, that's what it felt like. But here's the thing. I remembered her. Everyone around me remembered her too. Friends, family, neighbors, they all remembered her. They all spoke of her as if she had been alive, just like before. But I couldn't recall her face anymore. It was like my brain refused to cooperate, refusing to give me the face that I knew I should have remembered. How can you forget someone you once loved? A mother, a parent, a person you grew up with. But then it hit me. It was as if the memory of her was being erased in real time, a slow and painful process that I couldn't stop. I could still hear her laugh, her voice, and see her figure walking around in the kitchen, but nothing, absolutely nothing, was tangible. I never felt more alone in my life. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. A part of me wanted to run back home, but another part of me, a deeper part, felt like it was already too late. I didn't understand the gravity of it until the night I stumbled across an old, faded photograph tucked away in an album that didn't belong to anyone I knew. The photo was strange. There were people in it I didn't recognize, faces I could almost feel that I should remember, but just couldn't. And then there was a person in the background, someone so familiar that it made my heart race. And yet, I had no idea who they were. They stood in the back, hidden behind a tree, their features obscured, but their eyes, those eyes were like mirrors, reflecting back at me in a way that made me question if they were even mine. I tried to brush it off, but the feeling stuck with me, gnawing at the edges of my thoughts. That was when I started hearing whispers in the night, quiet, almost inaudible voices calling my name, but in a tone that didn't sound like anyone I knew. They were too familiar. I couldn't make sense of it. The whispers only grew louder and more persistent, as if they were beckoning me to something, to a place I wasn't supposed to go. One evening, I received a message from a number I didn't recognize. The text simply read, "Do you remember me?" I stared at the screen, heart pounding in my chest, because I knew I should know the person sending this message. But the name wasn't familiar. The number wasn't familiar. I couldn't explain it, but there was something in that message that felt like it belonged to my life. It was as if it had been a part of my existence long before I even received it. I asked myself, how could someone I've never met somehow feel like someone I knew my entire life? The message continued. "You were the one who told me the truth. You said I was never born, but I remember you." I froze. I wanted to delete the message, forget about it, but something stopped me. What if it was true? What if these people were never born, yet somehow they still lived within our memories? The thought felt too chilling to ignore. The next few days were a blur of strange occurrences. People I had never met, but who knew me by name, started appearing in my life. Each of them had their own story. Some claimed to have been my childhood friends. Others said they had been family members I had completely forgotten about. Each of them carried the same haunting aura, the kind that didn't belong in the real world. At first, I thought they were just figments of my imagination, maybe something to do with stress or exhaustion. But I couldn't shake the feeling that they were watching me, waiting for something or perhaps someone. Have you ever thought about the people who don't exist, but who everyone swears they remember? Those faces, those voices, that presence, so familiar, so real, but not a single trace of them should be there. What if there were more of them? What if there were people who never came into existence at all, but somehow they were woven into our lives? What if the world had erased them from existence, yet we couldn't erase their memory? What if some people never die because they never existed to begin with? I started digging deeper, researching the phenomenon. I thought it was all just a figment of my imagination, a twisted side effect of grief. But the more I searched, the more I found. People who swore they knew someone who had never been born, never existed, but somehow they still remembered them. It was like a collective memory, a memory that shouldn't be there, but couldn't be erased. That's when I found an old article about an experiment, something that happened decades ago. It was about memory manipulation, about creating memories that weren't real and implanting them in people's minds. It was supposed to be a government project, but it was shut down after reports of severe psychological effects on the test subjects. And then, I found something that made my blood run cold. The article wasn't about the project itself. It was about the people who were affected by it. There were records of people who had never been born, people who never existed in the first place, except for the memories implanted in others. It was as if someone had created them, only to make sure they never had a physical presence. These people, these lost souls, wandered in our memories, like ghosts with no physical form. Forgotten, yet always remembered. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept racing, trying to piece together what I had just read. People who were never born, but still remembered. It sounded impossible, yet something about it felt terrifyingly real. The next day, I decided to test it. I went through my old yearbooks, childhood albums, and even social media archives, looking for any sign of a person I should remember, but didn't. I searched for missing faces, names that felt familiar, but had no real presence. And then, I found her, a girl named Evelyn Carter. She was tagged in an old class photo from when I was 12. I stared at the picture for a long time, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't remember her. Her face was there, smiling, standing between two of my closest friends. But my mind refused to place her. It was as if she had been inserted into my memories, but my brain was rejecting her presence. I checked the comments under the photo. A few people had replied, "Evelyn, I remember her. Wonder what she's up to now. Wait, who is this? I swear she wasn't in our class. I have the same yearbook, and she's not in my copy. Are you sure this isn't edited?" I felt a chill run down my spine. I checked my phone contacts, my messages, my emails. Nothing. No record of ever speaking to her. And yet, when I asked my old friends, some of them swore she was real. Others said they had never heard of her. How could a person exist in some memories, but not in others? I dug deeper. Evelyn Carter didn't have any social media presence. No Facebook, no Instagram, no LinkedIn. I tried Googling her name. Nothing. No birth records. No news articles. No missing person reports. It was as if she had never existed at all. But then, I got another message. It was from the same unknown number as before. "You're looking for me, aren't you?" I froze. I can explain everything. But first, you have to remember. I didn't respond. My hands were shaking. But before I could even process the message, another one came through. "I was erased, but I still remember you." I dropped my phone. That night, I had a dream. I was standing in a school hallway. The air felt heavy, like something was pressing down on me. I saw a girl at the far end of the corridor, her back turned toward me. "Evelyn," I whispered. She turned around slowly. Her face was blurry, shifting like an unfinished painting, but her voice was crystal clear. "You promised you wouldn't forget me." I jolted awake, drenched in sweat, and then, like a floodgate had been opened. I remembered. Evelyn Carter. We were best friends. We spent years together. Late night calls, shared secrets, laughing at inside jokes no one else understood. She was real. She had always been real. So why had I forgotten her? I felt sick. Memories don't just disappear like that. People don't just vanish from existence. I checked my phone again. The message thread was gone, as if it had never been there in the first place. I turned on my laptop, desperate to find proof of her existence. I scrolled through old messages, files, anything. My heart pounded as I opened an archived email folder. And then, I saw it. An email from Evelyn, sent years ago. Subject: "They're coming for me." I clicked on it. The email was short. "If you're reading this, it means they haven't erased everything. But they will. They always do. They erase us from the world. But sometimes, we still exist in people's minds. That's the only way we survive. If you remember me, really remember me, I'll come back." I felt my breath hitch. "Don't let them erase me." And then, at the bottom of the email, one last line. "Who else have they made you forget?" The realization hit me like a freight train. What if this wasn't just about Evelyn? What if there were more? People who had been erased. Not dead. Not missing, just removed. Deleted from reality, but still lingering like echoes in the minds of those who once knew them. I had to know the truth. But some truths should never be uncovered. Because that night, I heard footsteps outside my window. A slow, deliberate tapping against the glass. I turned my head, and for a split second, I saw a shadow standing just beyond the frame. A figure that shouldn't exist. A voice whisper my name. And then, just as quickly as it came, it was gone. But I know one thing for certain now. They're watching, and they don't want me to remember. The end, or is it?